Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. Welcome to the Clutter Fairy Weekly for November 24th, 2020. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is our weekly webcast and podcast where we talk about all things organizing and all things that you find interesting about organizing. So as you'll see today, we pull from your comments on all our social media channels, and we appreciate that you do that. And our opening gambit today is going to be an email that I received from one of you. So thank you so much for doing that.
If you're joining us in the Zoom meeting for the first time, you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle gets to them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature to let me know that you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. We're streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can also share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. And during the webcast each Tuesday, you can talk to us directly by calling 669-900-6833. Use meeting ID 993-419-863 and password clutter to join the meeting. Okay, let's get to our topics. We're going to start today's episode with a wonderful suggestion from a viewer about another way to rethink your holiday gift wish list.
Yes, this idea comes to us from Christine, who sent me an email, and she wrote, "Your last video prompted me to rethink my holiday gift wish list. I like giving and receiving gift cards or experiences, but for Christmas, some people want to exchange a physical gift, not a gift card. But I realized that everyone is an expert on and passionate about at least one subject." So Christine started asking friends to choose a gift for her in their area of interest. For example, she likes coffee, but she's not an expert on coffee like one of her friends is. So when her friend asked what she would like for Christmas, Christine asked her for a gift of coffee. Her friend will have the fun and excitement of picking out just the right coffee, and it's a subject that she's very passionate about. And from now on, Christine will get the surprise of a new kind of coffee to try out from her thoughtful, coffee-loving friend. And since coffee is a consumable, this gift doesn't add to the clutter in Christine's house, which is a bonus. I thought this was such a great idea. By asking your friends and your family members to give you gifts in their areas that they're passionate about, you make the gift more enjoyable and meaningful for both of you. And Christine suggested lots of other consumable gift categories where this idea works well, like garden plants, tea, wine, liquor, specialty beers, chocolate, nuts, gourmet cookies, local honey, flowers, organic health and beauty products, perfume or cologne, and consumable decor items like paper cocktail napkins and room scents and candles and things like that. The important thought reframing for her was about shifting from what she wanted as a gift to what her friends had to offer her. Seeing it from her friend's perspective changes it totally. It's truly a brilliant way to envision receiving gifts differently. Thanks to Christine for sharing that aha moment with us.
Okay, let's get to our main topic. We're talking today about stopping the fire hose, preventing clutter at its source. We all have trouble spots for clutter, and some of us have more than a few. These hot spots, if you'll pardon the pun, develop out of the habits we adopt or fall into as we manage our daily lives. If you want your clutter to stop growing, you have to stop it at the source, which means identifying where it originates.
That's exactly right. When you recognize that you have a really big problem area, the discovery suggests a good place to start looking for the source habit or habits that are contributing to the trouble spot. So, what behavior are you doing to generate that clutter? If you start paying attention to where the breakdown is, maybe you can figure out a way to start handling it. So, are you drowning in paper? Where does it come from? Do you have clothes all over the floor? How did they get there? Take the time to find out what makes the clutter appear and address it at the source. And I'm going to give you several more examples of this approach today. So let's start with an obvious one. There are clothes all over your bed or your floor or the exercise machine in your bedroom or the doorknob. Your closet is stuffed and you can't get in there anymore. You have to stop at the doorway to reach into the closet. You can't even walk in. You don't remember what's at the back of the closet anymore, and your dresser is stuffed and you're shoving things into the drawers. So this is a clutter problem. So what is the source? Do you buy new clothes to avoid laundry? That's a source. Do you shop for entertainment or to hunt for sales, regardless of your actual clothing needs? So that would be a source. Do you keep lots of clothes that don't fit anymore because you're sentimental? That's a source. So if you hate laundry and that's why the clothes back up, this is where you start. How could you make that easier so it's not a problem anymore? Do some smaller loads and do them more often. Take the laundry out to a service and pay to get it done. Pay someone to come in and do it. Or get rid of some of the clothes that you don't wear so there's less to handle. If you shop for fun and bargains well beyond what you actually need, then this is where you start. How can you entertain yourself without adding clothes to the pile? Take up a hobby. Start trying to make money from them via resale shops instead of buying new ones. If you're bored, spend time scoping out resale locations and then processing stuff for resale. That'll keep you busy and make money for you and for your time instead of spending it. Try spending your time with friends doing something besides shopping. That's a good one because you know a posse of girlfriends will encourage each other to buy more. You know that. So you guys got to distract yourself completely. Go to a museum, go to a lecture, take a class together. If you spend money on an event instead of shopping, you're entertained, but your closet doesn't get any more stuffed. You see what I mean here by addressing the clutter problem at the source? So let's try another one. Maybe you have a lot of trash lying around the house. Is the problem that you refuse to pick up trash, or do you hate to take the trash out? Once I heard from a guy who had too much trash because he made huge trash bags full, and then it was so hard to get it all down the stairs and over to the dumpster. That was the source of his problem. The solution for him was to make a bunch of smaller bags, like grocery bags, so he could take one small bag of trash out every day when he went to work. That way he didn't have to struggle to get this massive bag of trash down the stairs and into the dumpster. And he could do it on a trip down the stairs that he made every day when he went to work. So you know you have to go downstairs to go to work. You might as well take one small bag of trash with you every time you go. If you drop trash around all the time, pick up a grocery bag every night and go around picking up trash until it's full. That's a 5-minute job you can do every night that will help you stay ahead of your natural inclination to drop trash where you are. This happens a lot in the kitchen, I have to say, as people are opening packages and tearing up, containers and emptying out stuff as they cook. So in addition to the detritus that comes from the actual food, you also have all these packaging and containers and leftover plastic that comes from dealing with cooking. And there's always a huge pile of trash after every meal prep. So one of the things that my roommate does that I think is really clever is she takes what in essence is a little bag that the fruit came in or a vegetable that came in, the little real thin plastic bags, and she basically folds that up as a bin in the sink. And as she makes trash while she's cooking, she throws it into that little bag. So she just accumulates that meal's trash into a little bag, and then she can just throw it all away at the end of the meal. And I thought that was a really clever adaptation that I never thought of because I just, every time I find a piece of trash, I go put it in the trash can because that's like the organizer would be. It's like trash goes in the trash and I immediately do it. But for her, it was easier to accumulate it in this throwaway bag anyway and then do it all at once. That's an example. Here's another one. If your bedroom is covered in luggage, still full of the contents from a vacation trip, does that mean that you hate to unpack? Or is it that you hate facing the laundry that comes from unpacking your luggage? Maybe you just pack way too much when you go on a trip and then you don't want to put it all away. So one solution for the problem is you can pack less to begin with. If you start packing during the week before the trip instead of the night before, you can be a lot more thoughtful about what goes into the luggage. And sometimes that's a way to prevent taking more than you really need. I know for me, if I have to pack at the last minute, then I get in sort of throw it in the suitcase mode and I inevitably take too much with me. So if you start packing in advance, then you can be more thoughtful about it. And then there's less to unpack on the back end is my point. If you hate the laundry, take out a load's worth each night for a few nights until it's done. So maybe you are not emptying all of the laundry out of your luggage, but you go take a small load's worth and go wash that and dry it and put it away. And it's, 10 pieces or 15 pieces. And then you can do it again. Then you can stop for the night and then you can do it again the next night. Do that a couple of times until you've gotten all the laundry out of your luggage and it'll be done. If you hate unpacking, if it's just the unpacking part, then don't do it all in one sitting. Take out part of it today and handle it, and then go back the next day and do some more. No one says it has to be done all in one night, and getting it done over 3 nights is better than it sitting there for 2 months or until the next trip rolls around and you have to empty it to pack again. Back when we were all traveling, this was a bigger problem, but there will be a point where it will matter again. Oh, here's
What is
another
this
example.
traveling of which you speak?
Right? Traveling. What is that exactly? Yeah, sorry. Is your closet or hallway or bedroom floor or entryway, and I've seen it in all those places, are they covered in shopping bags that are still full of what you bought? Do you drop them when you come in the house because you're running to the bathroom when you get home? Or are you just too hot to unpack them? In Texas in the summer, you come in out of a very hot car and you drag all the stuff in, and then you're, having a hot flash or you're passing out and fanning yourself like mad. So you need 30 minutes to recover before you can start unpacking the bags. Leaving shopping bags around is a guaranteed way to not know where the stuff is later. Or like the onions that get left in the bag, to ruin what you bought before you can use it or remember it's there. If you buy and ignore it, you should have an empty the shopping bags at your house, like I have a party. One day a week, go around and pull all those bags out and empty them and put the stuff away. If the problem is you don't have anywhere to put things, there's just nowhere to put them away, then you have a different problem. Once you're buying without need, and one, you're buying without need, and two, you're not filtering what you have. So if your space to put away stuff is full, it's time to dig that space out. So it's time for an organizing day to make room for the stuff that's coming in. Next example. Is your clutter made up of a bunch of started but not finished projects? How long have those unfinished projects been out there? They've been sitting out. Maybe it's days or years. Maybe the issue is having ADD tendencies and you need some intervention about that. Maybe it would help if you put things away when you lost interest and get them back out when you want to do it again. So it's time to spend an hour packing up those projects until you're ready to pick them up again. Are you worried you won't remember they're there? Okay, so make a list as you do it and stick it on the fridge. Then when you're inspired or you have a free moment or you have some unscheduled time and you want to tackle something, you can check the list that you made of what needs to be done and go find your packaged up unfinished project to get started on. That has craft implications, like I'm loosely talking about unfinished craft projects as well as unfinished anything else in the house. The repair project, I need to vacuum the carpet and I left the vacuum out. I need to wash the windows and I left the stuff out. Anything that you've started and not finished that you're trying to do in the house, if you're not ready to finish it right now, you've done some part of it and you're not going to come back to it for a week, go put it on a list on the fridge, go put the stuff away, and when you have a free moment again, you can go back to the list and start over. I don't know about you, but I don't usually forget. Like the things that are bothering me in the house or things that need to be repaired or done in the house, they just sort of yell at me until I do. Like mentally in my head, they're always going, nah. You walk by them and there's, oh, that's still dirty. That still needs to be vacuumed, that kind of stuff.
Well, and one way to get them to stop yelling at you, you know this, is take 5 minutes and do a brain dump. Write down all those things that are bothering you. Write down everything that is bouncing around, annoying
Nagging
you,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll get some peace of mind knowing that it's now it's in tangible form. I don't need to keep thinking about it.
Right, because our brains are designed to hold everything in what I think of as, current RAM. Like the operating equipment is not designed to hold all those thoughts in your head. And so they come to the surface and they drop down, and they come to the surface and they drop down. And the brain doesn't filter them for priority. It doesn't remember the most important things for you. It just randomly remembers them. And so Ed's suggestion about making the list means that you can, A, not forget it no matter how trivial it is, and B, you can prioritize one against the other because you're looking at the full list. And you can also do things like, I'm too tired to do step 3, 4, and 5, but I'm okay with 1 or 7 because I only have this much energy, and so I can accomplish this task even though I can't tackle something else.
There's a great comment from Connie that I really want to ask for clarification on. You might be familiar with this phrase.
Okay.
First, she said, UFOs all over my place, which I think is, I guess, unfinished objects.
Yes, that's correct.
And she said, but there's also a lot of yak shaving to do for some things I need to do. Do you know this expression?
No, what does that
Okay.
mean? That's a good one. I like it.
Connie, would you be so kind as to
Please
unmute
elaborate.
yourself and elaborate on yak shaving?
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Yes.
Yes.
We got
Okay.
you.
Let me see if I can also do the video part. It's a term that it's a forum for unclutterers. It started somewhere. I don't remember anymore where it started. It's the idea that before you do something, you have to do that first. And before you do that first, you have to do something else first. Then you have to do something else first. It's as difficult as shaving a yak because it has so many layers of fur that you have to get to before you finally get it. That's it's a term used. I'm sure it's been used in other clutter forms. Yeah.
I have never heard that, and I don't know if I'm remiss, but I've never heard any of my colleagues say that. That is hilarious.
Okay, you might have to look it up somewhere.
I felt like I'd heard it, but I really wanted to hear I wanted to hear it from your mouth.
So it's like, it's like the yak version of peeling the onion, right? Like there's so many layers you have to. Yeah. That is so hilarious.
Yeah, it could be. Yes, it could be that there's a book called "Don't Shave a Yak." Yeah. That's what JC has just written.
Okay.
Yeah. Credit is to a book. Okay, we will look that up.
We're gonna look that one up.
We will put it in a link somewhere so that we can go laugh about it later. That's hilarious. I love that idea.
Okay, Gayle, sorry, I derailed you from where you were in the presentation.
Because it's a perfect example of I can't accomplish A until I can't accomplish B until I do A. And it is a way that people talk themselves out of getting started. I want to get to that end result, but I have to do these 37 steps to get there, and therefore I can't start because these steps are too hard. It's a way that people resist me as well, that, they're like, okay, I want to do this thing, but in order to do that, I have to do these 5 things that I find overwhelming, daunting, impossible, inconceivable, can't figure out the solution, and therefore I'm stuck. And sometimes I can make suggestions about how to move forward. Like I can come up with an alternate path to get to the end solution. And sometimes that gets rejected too. And then I can tell that really I have to do this before I do this, before I do this, before I do that is a walling off technique to stall people. But if it's not that for you, then just coming at it from a different point of view, like getting with somebody and trying to problem solve. Okay, so I can't do these 5 things to get my end result right now. Is there another way I can get to the end result and skip these 5 steps? And sometimes there is. Sometimes there's an alternative that's coming from a completely different direction that will help you solve that problem without being tripped up by the 5 things that are bothering you. And then, maybe you can sort of not shave the yak that way. That's going to make me laugh every time I say that now. And if it is, if no solution works for you, then you have to ask if you're just trying to prevent yourself from doing something. And if you don't think that's it, then maybe it's that you have to go to figure out what A is, what the beginning of the path is to get you from A to E, and start working on and problem solving A. Like, what is the problem? Why do I feel overwhelmed by this? What do I think won't work about it? Give it the full time and attention that you need to break it down to get yourself started. And usually, if you can imagine all the steps, A, B, C, D, E, to get to an end result, and you find all the steps overwhelming, then just ignoring, going, okay, I know I can't do E until I do A. I need to do A, and how can I get started on A? Just start troubleshooting A and figuring out how you can get in motion about it. What kind of resources you have to pull. Like, think of it as a problem you got to solve. And a lot of times, if you can just ignore everything that's going to come after it, because that's sort of overwhelming you, all the steps are overwhelming. If you can just isolate on the one starting point and pull all your resources, call all your friends, get advice, do whatever you need to do to get that piece rolling, you'll find that the rest of it sort of flows afterwards. It'll just happen. And you're just being overwhelmed by all the steps you are thinking of and the one starting point that feels really big or really insurmountable. And they are barriers. Yes, Deborah, I see that. I don't see the whole comment, but I see the word barriers going by. Okay, so here's another example of our happy situation here, our happy how to look at it differently. This one is there about donations. So if there's a big box of donations that in the house right now that nobody can actually pick up, and it's sitting in the corner of the living room or the bedroom or the junk room, I see this all the time. Is it there because the box is too hard to maneuver to the car? Like, sometimes I say donations to people and they think, oh, great, I need a big box. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You have to remember that that box has to be lifted. It has to be carried across your home. It has to be put out a door. It has to be put in your car. And you are not currently driving a U-Haul, so it needs to be a box that you can get in your car without a bunch of hassle. And so if you're going to use boxes, I would only use small boxes. And if you can avoid it, I would go for something much, much smaller. This is where you can get out your paper grocery bags, your plastic grocery bags, the shopping bags that come when you go in the stores and you have little handle bags. Yes, you may end up with a whole bunch of handle bags, or you may end up with 10 or 15 grocery bags instead of one big box, but you can actually carry 15 grocery bags 2 at a time to the car. These are things that you can lift up. And so even if you have physical impairments, even if you have some infirmity, even if you have, grip strength issues, you can still make a little bag of groceries with donations and carry those out to the car one at a time even. And think about you're getting your steps in while you go to the car, right? So don't set yourself up to fail with donations by using a box that's too large and then not being and then having to wait for somebody to come and move it for you. These are all barriers to getting it done and getting it donated. So that's a source of clutter if you have a big box of donations in the corner. And the solution is small box or no box, small bags, grocery bags, reusable bags, whatever you need to do, and carry those out one at a time. And that is the better way to solve the problem, especially if you don't have any labor at home that can lift it. But, you don't want to tie your in-home labor is usually the husband or the son who you have to prevail upon to come and help you. And then you have to wait for their willingness to participate in your chore, which, they don't even like doing their own chores. So helping you do your chore is way down their list, right? It's annoying. And then you're just annoyed because you want to move forward and you have to wait on somebody else to solve the problem. So let's skip all of that, take the other person out of the rotation and use a smaller bag to get it out of the house. You take one little bag when it's full, take it to the car and start another one. And if you just do that randomly all the time, you always have some grocery bag taking donation stuff in it. When it's full, you walk it to the car. And then when you're out driving around running errands, there's always some place that you drive by that you can drop it off. There's always a Goodwill. There's always some kind of a charity pickup that you can go take it to church. If the church is doing something, there's always some place that you can go drop it off. And then once you get there, somebody can help you take your little bags out one at a time, and it'll be super easy.
Gail, Cindy, who's with us on Facebook, said, I got on a donation pickup schedule. Boxes of stuff leaving my house every 3 weeks. Just don't give them your phone number. Email only. LOL.
LOL, right? Because they will call. But that's also a great sort of it makes them a great accountability partner, right? Because you know they're going to come every 3 weeks, and as long as you keep putting stuff out, they'll keep coming. And so it forces you to think about, oh yeah, they're coming. I need to go get some stuff on the front porch, and it incentivizes you to circle back and keep working on the project a little bit at a time, over and over again. And that's a great thing to do.
And Shirley on Facebook said that she has lost 70 pounds. Congratulations, Shirley. Where do I go to give away my size 24 or 26 clothing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm sure they're in super high demand. Any place where there is a women's shelter, anybody that's doing, domestic violence support, any kind of a women's shelter in town will want those, because they always have trouble having enough larger clothes for the clients that need them. And so were you to take a freshly washed batch of your clothes that don't fit, they will be thrilled to death. Just Google in your area for women's shelter, domestic violence support, that kind of stuff, and you will pop somebody who's providing that service in your area, and I'm sure they will be thrilled to death to get your stuff.
And what about the place that helps clothe people who are doing job searches?
Yeah. So in Houston, that's Dress for Success. Most of those places, it's very specific clothing. So if it needs to be like particular fancy suits,
nice skirts and blouses
attire.
and
Very specialty. So they will reject a lot of what you have as being too casual. But if you have some work clothing that is professional attire, you can filter that stuff off to somebody that is doing any kind of program to help people search for jobs, that kind of support. And like I said, Dress for Success has chapters sort of everywhere. So it just depends on whether you have that particular company doing the work in your area, or if it's somebody else doing their own private version of it. But there's probably someone there. Okay.
While we're paused in your presentation, I'll also clarify, I went down a rabbit hole just now looking up yak shaving, and Connie clarified that the term was coined by Carlin Vieri, an MIT student, and it's a task. Yak shaving is a task that leads to another and leads to another and so on, distracting you from the original task.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah. And
so this concept was published in a book, it sounds like.
No, it's not a book. It was just on an online forum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And another related concept is I'm gonna have to look up a reference and put it in the show notes, but structured procrastination. There was a professor from one of the big California universities, I can't remember which one, I'll have to look it up again, but he coined the term structured procrastination, and that is essentially working on
you're dropping out.
The thing at the top of your to-do list.
Say that again. You dropped out there for a minute, Ed.
Structured procrastination is working on the second thing on your to-do list instead of the thing at the top of your to-do list.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
Well, you're still getting stuff done. You're just not exactly getting the most priority thing done.
Yeah.
But that's okay. No judgment about that. Okay. Yak shaving still makes me laugh super, super hard, and I can't wait to go down the rabbit hole about that later.
Okay.
Okay. So here is my last, stop it at the source example. Is there a paper blizzard in your house? So papers all over the floor, the counters, or on the furniture. Is this because you never deal with the mail? So is the source the fear of throwing away important papers? If that's it, then we've talked a lot about paper in this group and the need for a habit about paper. Dealing with the mail every day or every other day is how you keep mail under control. But if your issue is worrying about what you can throw away, then it's time for some education. You can ask your accountant or me or whomever you trust about each type of paper that's got you worried. In the meantime, just focus on getting rid of what you're okay throwing out. This will at least shrink the pile significantly. Then watch some of our videos about paper to get some rules about the various paper categories and what you need to keep. Keep searching for the answers until you're comfortable. And there's tons of articles out there. So if paper is overwhelming because you're not sure what to do, then A, you need to get some education, and B, you can start throwing out what you're already comfortable throwing out. Usually, once you get frozen about paper, you freeze about all paper, and then it's sort of like the coronavirus, it exponentially explodes. And there's a way for you to go and hack it back, right? And beat it back with a stick. So throwing away the stuff that you already know is okay to throw out is important. And then gathering up the stuff that you are unsure about and finding out what those categories are and going to ask for expert advice is how you get okay with paper and how you stop having paper as a blizzard in your house.
And asked, said, I don't know what to throw away. Where can I see the videos about paper? We have several. And if you go to our YouTube channel, will you hold up the sign, Gayle? If you go to our shortcut is cfhou.com/YouTube, that will take you to our YouTube channel. And if you search the channel on paper, you will find several. We've talked about this a few times, different angles
Different points of view, yeah.
and approaches.
Exactly. And so we and in most of them we talk about the various categories and the types of stuff and the parameters, and you can just Google also what kinds of paper to save and have a million articles pop up. So it's really just a matter of doing a little research, doing a little reading, watching some videos until you feel like you have an answer that you're comfortable with, and then using that as your parameter. So I've given you some examples here of the typical places where things accumulate and reflect to you that there's a source of clutter that needs to be picked apart so you can shine a light on the root problem, the root cause of it. So who wants to talk about their specific collection zones at their house? Maybe we can figure out the source for you today. I see JC's laughing.
Nancy on Facebook says, drowning in old photos.
Oh, I'm doing that project myself actually right now. So old photos is one of those paper sources that is endless and very detailed. It requires very detailed sorting. It's not something you can do in one sitting. And so if you're waiting for the moment when you will sit down and go through the photos, yeah, that day isn't going to come because it's usually the more photos you have, the million hours longer it takes to get it done. So what I'm doing right now myself is my little sister, I can laugh about this now. When my mother passed away, and 6 months later we emptied her house, and I helped her sort, and some of the stuff was coming to my house, and so we had to get a moving van and ship things to here. And so I helped her make the sorting and then went home, and then the moving truck came a little later, and my little sister was there supervising the loading of the truck with the stuff that was coming to my house, and she decided that she would just throw the photo boxes into my truck to let me deal with them. So she basically snuck several huge plastic boxes of photos onto the moving truck and said, "Here, Gayle, you deal with that." So I have them, and I have been going through them slowly. And it's hard to flip through the photos of my mother's and all of the, she took a trip to India and she took a trip to Puerto Rico and she took, there's all of her vacation and choir touring trips in there. And I have to go looking for photos of her, like I'm looking for people that I know. And then I've said this a million times. If you listen to me, you know, my mother took pictures of landscapes and animals and flowers and, like, you know, there was rocks and trees and sheep in a lot of her pictures. And so I don't need an umpteenth another cow that she took a picture of. So I'm having to go through and find the ones that have her in them and people that I recognize, and then I'm throwing out the rest. And so I have to sit and flip one at a time. And I just this week, over the weekend, I spent probably 3 hours with a small box of photos, and flipped through and threw out a bag's worth of photos, and kept the rest and boxed them in some photo organizers. And that was 3 hours to get one small box out of, there's 7 more or 8 more sitting here that I have to go through. And so photos are a long-term project, and they're not a one sitting project at all. So you need to find a way to work a little bit of it, you know, grab a stack and give your 2 hours to the photo project and work for 2 hours, and then stop and go away and do something else. And just repeat, you know, I'm going to do this once a week. I'm going to do this twice a week. I'm going to do this, you know, 2 Sundays a month, however you want to do it. But you have to chunk that one way down because it takes a lot of time. So create a window of work that you're willing to do. Give it that full attention for 2 hours or 3 hours or an hour or whatever you got. And then repeat until you get all the way through. There's going to be a lot of photos that you can throw out, and there's going to be ones that are precious and you'll be so glad you found. But the only way to do that is to go through the photos one at a time. And so you can't just chunk them because you can't just throw them out, because you're going to throw away stuff you want. And, you know, my ratio of keep to toss is probably 1 to 30 or 40. My mother didn't let herself get in the photos much, and she didn't take pictures of herself very well. And so it's really easy to go, nobody's in this photo, nobody's in this photo. I can flip through them really fast, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it takes a lot of time. Anybody else have a clutter area that accumulates they want me to troubleshoot today?
Still on the topic of photos, Anne asked, how do I decide which snapshots of my little boy to keep? Well, and that's very personal, and it's more a matter of, I think, deciding, you know, how much room do you have? How are you going to look at them? If you have the space for 6 albums of photos of your child, then that's how many to keep.
And I think that it's just like me and taking photos of the cats, right? Like, some of the photos I take are stupid and they don't look good, and some of them are super cute. And so if you have an abundance of photos of your child to look at, then you can look and go, these 5 of age 2 are really fabulous shots of him, and these 20 are not fabulous shots of him. They're not the best of the best. And if you keep the most wonderful ones, then letting go of some of the rest is easier, because you know you have the best and the most perfect ones to look at already. That's a matter of prioritizing do I like A better than B? Do I like A better than C? Do I like A better than D? Like, you can sort of grade them and prioritize them based on against each other. And, you know, there's going to be ones where he has a Halloween costume on, and you took 14 photos of him in the Halloween costume. Okay, so if you want to remember that day, then of the 14 photos, you find the 2 of the Halloween costume that look the best, and the rest of them are then extras, and you can let them go. That's my theory.
Lots of suggestions from the comments about scanning and, you know, scanning photos to save the digital ones, which you can keep on your computer or in a digital photo frame. Digital photo frame is terrific, and we bought one for Christmas, I think a year or 2 ago, for my parents, and it's associated with, there's an email address associated with it, so all of us have that email address, and we can send photos to my parents at that email address, and they automatically show up on the photo frame.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I like that idea. then it's just in the file, and then it's just scrolling through on the digital frame. I like that a lot. That's cool.
Although they don't leave it turned on because they're of an era when you didn't leave any device turned on. And so you have to call them and tell them, I sent you some new photos.
Go look.
And Lee said that saves power. It does save power, except the thing will fall asleep. You can set it so it plays for a little
Oh,
while
yeah,
and then just falls asleep. But no, they have to shut it down every single time.
yeah.
I will include a link in the show notes to the photo frame that my parents have. I can't remember the name of it, or I would do it right now. But I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Which is a good time to mention that for every show now, we're setting up a page on our website that includes any notes, any written notes that we've made. And so so for example, today's will be at cfhou.com/tcfw 046. I think this is episode 46. I forget. Anyway, you'll be able to find that on Facebook, and just going to the website, it will be on the homepage every week. So
Cool.
wanted to share that while I was thinking about it.
While you're thinking about it. So one person says, Paper Blizzard source is printing out stuff for information and interest that I don't want to forget. Yeah, that is a problem. If you are printing out things you don't want to forget, then I think the question is how much of it is data material and how much of it is you accumulating your own data of information that you find interesting. And so you do have to create a way to capture and file the stuff if you're going to keep it. I think part of what you have to evaluate is, are you really ever going to come back to it? Like, you may find it interesting in the moment, and maybe you need to bookmark it for a little while and see if printing it is actually necessary, because you may find that it was interesting in the moment and you read it and you made use of whatever you read, and then after a week or two it's not super important anymore. At the bare minimum, you can accumulate them all in one bucket, create a box, create a file, create a drop zone, an inbox for them, and occasionally go and filter them, go back through them again and see, do I really still want this piece of information, and see if it can be, if they sort of marinate and age over time so that they become less important after you've already used the information, or you've already absorbed it and you feel like you have it to mind, it's part of your knowledge base in your head, or it was a suggestion about something to do and you've now done it, and so maybe you don't need the instructions anymore, that kind of stuff. But creating your own database of information instead of using the computer as your database source, or filing digital copies of things as your database source, means that you have to create a filing system to manage it and retrieve it. So you have to ask yourself, for every piece of paper that you print, do you really want to go get that in the file somewhere? Do you really want to be able to retrieve it again? How are you going to do that? Do you want to spend the time to add it, fold it into your database so that you can find it again? And that requires some work. So aside from printing the pile, if you actually want to be able to, if you aspire to actually getting it again instead of just wishing that you could find it again, then you're going to have to do something beyond the printing step. You're going to have to print and then do something else. So just recognize that that's the step that's missing, that you have to create the end parking space for the paper that you think you want to keep and retrieve again later.
Well, and I think that if paper is one of your problem areas, you're sort of sabotaging yourself by continuing to print things to read. And so if you're comfortable reading things on your electronic devices, and you do not also struggle with a clutter problem on your electronic devices, that's a big caveat there, you should look to create a digital approach. I use a service called Instapaper, INSTA paper.com. And it lets you, it sort of bookmarks, it does more than bookmark. It actually saves sort of stripped down text versions of web pages that I'm interested in reading later. And it retains them just as very basically formatted text. It keeps only the very basic HTML, no graphics, no ads, none of that stuff. And then I can read them on my iPad at my leisure.
And
But it
my
is
mother,
really,
go
go
ahead.
on. I was going to
It,
say it's also really easy to fall into the trap of cluttering on your computer and
right.
ending up with hundreds or thousands of bookmarks. But there, at least, it's only using up a negligible amount of space on your computer and not sitting in your home and turning to dust.
Making you crazy.
So I feel like that turning it into digital clutter is better than continuing
Retaining the paper clutter.
to add to the stream of paper clutter. Yeah.
My mother used to print, she used to print out emails and stuff to read because she preferred reading them on paper than reading them on the screen. Like somehow that was easier for her to manage. And so she would print out stuff, and then occasionally we would have to go back and, okay, yeah, you've read all these emails. We need to throw these away. Like she would have to go back and circle through the things she's printed out and throw them out. And so, if you have a preference for paper, this is just like if you have a preference for actual books versus digital books, doesn't matter. You just have to manage your touching of that stuff. And so, um, if you want to keep it, you're going to have to find a place to park it and a way for you to retrieve it back. And it's just like keeping recipes that you want, right? Like you can never find the recipe again unless you have a place to park the recipe and it's a dessert and it's in the dessert section, right? You have to be able to do the same thing with the pieces of paper that you keep. And so creating your version of a recipe book for the paper that you're keeping is going to be what clears the blizzard and parks it in one place. And then adding the extra feature of, everybody clips a million recipes and then they don't cook them all or they change their mind later. And so making it a task that you periodically go through the pieces of paper looking for ones that now don't matter anymore and letting them go in the recycle bin is a super important thing to add to your paper processing. Go back and filter and cut it down for things that aren't on your radar anymore. There's a comment from Brandy. I have a hard time donating things when I know I can sell them in a garage sale or on eBay, but they clutter up my garage. So this is the dilemma of I think the thing has value, but I don't want to do the work to have the garage sale, or I don't want to do the work to get it to a resale store. And it takes a lot of effort to sell something, and it needs to be worth your effort. So you should create a threshold. If I don't think I can make $20 on it, or I don't think I can make $50 on it, or I don't think I can make $10 on it, whatever your threshold is, then it's not worth my time and effort to get it in front of somebody. And mounting a garage sale is a lot of physical work. So if that's not a good solution, if you don't think you're going to actually do a garage sale, even if it could be sold at a garage sale, then I think you have to say, it's not worth it because I'm not going to make a garage sale happen so I can get $5 for this thing. You have to trade your time, what you're willing to do, for that money. And if all you're willing to do is put it in the car and take it to donation place, then that's all that it's worth, really. So, and there's a collection of things in your garage right now. I'm sure you could probably sell it for something at the garage sale, and it wouldn't be worth taking to a resale shop. A resale shop is only going to sell a certain type of thing, a certain quality of thing, and so you can't really take it to a resale store unless it's something good. And eBay takes a lot of time. Like any kind of online selling venue where you have to go and list it, it takes a while. So maybe you want to put it on Nextdoor and take the photographs and list one item at a time. Maybe that's your version of having a garage sale, but you have to be willing to take a photo, put it up on Nextdoor, put a description, answer the questions, all the things you have to do to make that happen and turn into cash. And so you have to ask yourself, if it takes me 3 hours to sell this $2 thing, then is it worth it? And the answer is probably going to be no. And mounting a garage sale is a whole bunch of 2-hour hits all added together so that you spend, the whole day before setting up a garage sale and then having to sit around for the whole day and be available for people to come by. And then you're still left with a pile of things that didn't sell that you have to go and donate anyway. So you really have to examine hard how valuable your time is and how much time you actually want to spend to make that thing turn into cash. And most of the time, your time is more valuable than, and then you can donate it and let somebody else deal with it.
Well, Anne said, if I don't have a garage sale, how do I get rid of it? I have a chair and a bed and a sheaf robe. And
So you have
Gayle
large furniture.
said, call a charity to pick up. That's true. Some charities will pick up. Usually there's some lead time required on that. So if you need them gone right away, that's not practical. But one is, one quick way to get rid of things is Facebook Marketplace. If you're on Facebook, listed on Facebook Marketplace, you can list things for free, but you will get 10,000 inquiries. So Facebook Marketplace is an additional, it's a service that's part of Facebook for all, personal users that lets you sell stuff, and it's targeted to your geographical area.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave away my couch that way before we moved because we needed it gone in a great big hurry. And I made the mistake of listing it as free. So I kid you not, I think 1,500 inquiries. So what I suggest instead is to list it for $10 or $20, whatever it is. If you're willing to let it go for free, list it for a very small amount of money. Field the inquiries that you get. When somebody seems, sincere about coming to pick it up from you today, then accept their offer. And when they show up, you can always tell them you can have it for free. I said $20 because I didn't want 10,000 people to reply.
Right? Yeah. And you can also, if you have a Habitat for Humanity restore in your area, then you may have to take it to them or take it to the store, but that would be a way to get rid of them. And, you can rent a U-Haul for $20 for the day, and for $20 and, get somebody to load the furniture in the car, and then you can take it to whatever charity you want. And there will be somebody at the charity that will come and take the furniture back out again. So for a $20 outlay, you can make a lot of furniture disappear in a short period of time. If you have the time and you're not worried about it, then list them one at a time on Facebook, put them on Nextdoor, and let the people in your neighborhood come and see them and take them away. We've gotten rid of a lot of stuff through Nextdoor just by saying, hey, here's this thing, and it's, it's on the driveway. Like, you can do contactless pickup. It's on the driveway. It's free. Who wants it? And somebody will jump in the car and come and get it. And as soon as it's gone, we go back out and go, it's been picked up, delete it, and, it's gone again. So there's ways for you to get somebody else to come and pick them up. You can't lift any of it. So nextdoor.com is what I'm talking about, and it is a website that's queued to your subdivisions. So you sign yourself in, and then you are in a subdivision neighborhood group that is basically all of your neighbors. And so you can put it on Nextdoor and say it's in the house, and you have to come and get it. I can't lift it. And
Yeah, and you can definitely
people.
specify that anywhere that you list something for sale or giveaway. You can, make sure you put in your ad, I will not be able to help you load this. So if it's going to take two people, make sure they bring someone to help. Okay,
Yeah,
we need to wrap up. We are
Oh, it's
running out of time.
Okay. Sorry.
I want to remind everyone that our next webcast will be on Tuesday, December 1st at noon US Central Time, live in Zoom and streaming on Facebook. We're going to talk next week about decluttering via donation. We've also made plans for the next 2 episodes after that. On December 8th, we're going to talk about task management, managing your to-do lists. And on Tuesday, December 15th, we're going to talk about planning your organizing goals for 2021.
It's time.
So that's going to be our goal setting topic.
Mhm.
And then we're going to take a couple of weeks off from live webcasts. We will plan to have some prepared content we can share with you on the YouTube
Recorded.
channel, some pre-recorded pieces. But
Snippets.
we're gonna take off for the holidays for 2 weeks.
And
If
then
you
we'll
are
be back in
watching this on YouTube, we'd love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by going to cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by going to cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. Okay, Gayle, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
I hope our examples are helping you see what I mean by looking for the source of the clutter. Ask yourself what you do to create those piles, and then think about what you can do as a solution to the roadblock. Even if there's more than one problem causing the clutter to accumulate in one area, there's got to be a fix that will help you get past it. Find the sources, work to problem solve those sources until they stop creating an issue for you. And let us know how you solved it so we can share your ideas with everyone.
Thanks, Gayle. I want to wish all of our American viewers and listeners a very happy Thanksgiving. We love to hear from you. Please send us your questions and topic suggestions in the YouTube comments, on Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. And you can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
I almost missed it. You guys have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy a very, very small and safe gathering with whoever is already in your household. We want everybody to be happy and well. And Connie, we're thinking about your daughter and hope that she recuperates quickly. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.